Okay, I wanted to talk about this a few weeks ago, but I wanted to get all my thoughts together. If you follow anything within the anime sphere recently this season, you may have heard of Oshinoko. It's an anime that has grown to be the most popular this season, and its subject matter primarily deals with what it's like to operate within the Japanese entertainment industry and what goes on behind the scenes. They look at individuals who operate within different forms of media, whether it be traditional cable media or the internet, and they also deal with different problems too, such as possible unfair management and parasocial relationships. What I wanted to talk about specifically comes from one of the episodes that aired back in May, specifically what was talked about in episode 6. In this specific episode, it goes through one of the characters, Akane, and their experience within a reality TV show. Due to wanting to stand out, they try to push themselves into the narrative of whatever is being built within the story, and she accidentally goes too far, hurting one of the characters. Now, although there were no hard feelings between the two characters because of how reality TV is structured, there was this need to build drama and to push a certain narrative by interspersing different scenes. And the final cut portrayed it so that Akane looked like a bad person. Of course, because that's what the shot was clearly set to do, it led to her getting bullied online. Throughout the last 10 minutes of the show, it shows Akane's experience with cyberbullying, the rumors and disdained statements and looks from other people. It showed that throughout the course of the few days, she would check online at the statements on social medias like Twitter and see how people were responding to her. Of course, there was a moment where it became too much and she attempted to apologize on Twitter, but that seemed to make the situation worse. And within those few days, she kept it to herself, and it even showed that she wasn't even open to the ones that was closest to her. Eventually, it got to the point where it became too much, and it shows Akane attempting to take her own life. This episode in particular struck a chord with a lot of people. For those that have been cyberbullied online, I'm sure they can relate in certain aspects to what this particular character is going through. This was a very heavy episode, and after it aired, it did spark criticism. Back in 2020, a famous wrestler named Hana Kimura took her own life due to cyberbullying, and it has sparked criticism from Hana Kimura's mother, who seemed to see that there were parallels between the two. In an interview with the Shukan Josei Prime magazine, Kimura showed her outrage at the anime for capitalizing on the specifics of her daughter's death. The words that the character was exposed to are exactly the words that Hana was exposed to. We have talked about these things publicly through interviews and the like. How could these exact same words be used? I can't overlook the fact that Hana's death is being used like free source material. The author of the story, Aka Akasaka, has stated that this series and this specific scene in particular was used to spread awareness on the subject. It was just that he primarily used Hana Kimura's situation as a parallel example to properly discuss this. Now, this should be blatantly obvious, but Hana Kimura's mother has every right to feel this way and to express her grievances. It's completely understandable to understand why she would be very uncomfortable with this situation, given that there are very, very close parallels between the situation and the events that transpired to Akane and Oshinoko, and in real life to her daughter Hana Kimura. By no means do I want to dismiss the feelings of Hana Kimura's mother, nor do I want to mitigate her situation. I just want to point out that, unfortunately, Hana Kimura's situation isn't the only one that happens. And it's an ongoing situation that is happening within the entertainment industry around the world. Having such an unfiltered, realistic portrayal of the dangers of what could happen through cyberbullying is a very effective way to spread awareness regarding it. Now, given these responses, I'm sure that you would expect some empathetic response to this situation, possibly responses talking about both sides of the situation, because there seems to be no right or wrong. It seems to fall within this weird limbo middle ground. Unfortunately, that is not the case, as there have been complaints about the Oshinoko fandom harassing the family of Hana Kimura online. Unfortunately, the source of these could be trolls. In another sense, they could also just be the loud minority online. I believe that these people are assuming that Hana Kimura's mother is trying to get Oshinoko cancelled. However, she explicitly stated that she wishes to find a middle ground. Now, as I've explained, and if you've seen the show, you can see how hypocritical that those who are bullying the family of Hana Kimura are. It's unbelievable that you could do this. You watch a series that deals with the dangers of the entertainment industry and parasocial relationships that is explicitly shown even in episode 1. You get to episode 6 and you see the meticulous steps that somebody goes through when they're getting cyberbullied to the point where they are they want to take their own life. Going into this, you should understand that the events that are being portrayed are based off of situations from real people. And yet you hypocritically turn around and attack somebody. You have explicitly paralleled the actions of cyberbullying portrayed in the show. Are you serious? But where could this behavior come from? Through observation, we can possibly trace it to cancel culture, in which a person may have felt that with these constant discussions that they are exposed to over the course of months or years, that they feel like they are being criticized for everything and that they can't just enjoy something anymore. So when a situation like this happens, all of these emotional buildups just suddenly come out and they actively try to defend something that they like. However, they took it out in the wrong way. It's very difficult to tell the intentions and feelings of another person, especially if it's through text, like through a tweet or a post. And as such, people are more receptive to responding and interpreting a statement that they then skew to assume that the response comes from a negative connotation. The problem with the internet is that you're exposed to so many different things all at once, so much information, all these emotions start to build up. And if you use it unhealthily enough, it can get to the point where you don't even know how to express it and where to direct it at. Look, I can see why you feel that having this raw portrayal is a great way to spread awareness for cyberbullying. It certainly is. I certainly feel that way. However, in this circumstance, why would you feel that it is justifiable to attack the family of the person in which that specific portrayal derives from? As I mentioned before, what is portrayed in Oshinoko is very similar to what can be portrayed in real life. As I keep mentioning over and over again, how cyberbullying is expressed, the constant hate and harassment and death threats are very much real. And they can come from users who express them online as a sort of undeserved displacement of their emotions. Because on the internet, a user has a lot of power because there is this sense of anonymity behind their profile. While this is a very fresh topic, I wanted to discuss the importance of media literacy. If you don't know what media literacy is, the Wikipedia states that media literacy is an expanded conceptualization of literacy that includes the ability to access and analyze media messages as well as create, reflect, and take action, using the power of information and communication to make a difference in the world. There's a lot of little minutiae that we can dissect that goes into why people act the way they do on the internet. For one, it is so open. As this article states, social media differs from other types of internet platforms in that they are characterized by their mass use, they allow content creation, and are not only consumed passively, making it impossible for people who do not have formal knowledge about mass media to produce information. As I mentioned before, that openness, in contribution with that anonymity, gives people feelings of unprecedented power to do whatever they want on the internet. As stated before, media literacy is the ability to access and analyze media messages as well as create, reflect, and take action. Going back to Oshinoko, as I've explained before, in that the reality dating TV show that they used as a plot point had it so that the final product was skewed to make it so that Akane, who was the target for cyberbullying, be portrayed as the bad guy. Now, we've all seen on reality TV shows how they tend to skew a narrative. We've seen it on things like American Idol, in which somebody makes a statement and then they then skew it so that the audience makes them hate them. Or we can see it on whenever a character is riled up for no reason, in that they want you to elevate and make you feel a certain emotion. It's these little details that I feel are something important that should be taught to society in general, so that they can take away from key information and know what to look out for. As a collective society, we have a tendency to get obsessed with things that we like, especially within the rise of the internet and the rise of YouTubers and streaming. It seems that society is starting to move away from what is usually polished or faked on TV and is eyeing for something more realistic and flawed. Because of this, there is an expectation that a creator is going to have an audience that in turn builds parasocial relationships. A follower becomes obsessed with that person and starts to paint them in some sort of positive light. And when said creator does something that goes against them, they immediately turn around and immediately bully them or hate them, make hate comments online, on Twitter, on YouTube, Instagram, anywhere. It seems to stem from an unhealthy direction of emotions, and if not properly taught to them or acknowledged by them at a young age, it gets to the point where they don't know where to express their emotions. And we get an instance like cyberbullying. And when I said before that we are a collective society and that we like to obsess over things, that can even stem from negative things as well. We've heard of hate watching, we've heard of dogpiling. If, like, for example, if somebody makes a bad video on TikTok, then we jokingly start to make fun of them. In another sense, we don't know if we're hurting that person. And in another sense, there are people who legitimately express hatred for that person. And that unfortunate, legitimate hatred of expression was something that we've seen from the loud minority in the situation with Hana Kimura's mother in Oshinoko. As I mentioned before, especially within the internet age, I feel that there is an utmost importance to instill media literacy for as far back as elementary school or children. Like, it's something that actually should be integrated within the curriculum, since so many people nowadays use the internet frequently. If the curriculum is approached and structured within an effective way, we can then hopefully start to look out for little things that might spark anger or a change in mindset to stray away from negative connotations and instead from neutrality and discussion. Of course, it's not going to be 100%, but if it's something that can help, then that's something that should be approached with. If we were to see that loud minority pop up, or just internet trolls, which is inevitable, that's something that we can look out for and behavior that we can berate. Because when something's popular online, it's just a free for all for people to dogpile. It doesn't matter who you are, what age you are, what race you are, what you believe. It's just people are going to just suddenly dogpile on it. I mean, we've seen that with the case of young Justin Bieber. Like, even at a young age, I wasn't really a fan of his music. But for some reason, he was turned just into this spectacle to dogpile on. Like, there were all those memes on 2012 of, like, you know, Chuck Norris or Justin Bieber. Those things. There were so many people actively hating on him for no reason, and he was just a kid. He was just like a 16-year-old kid. You don't think that would have affected him while he was growing up, in addition to whatever he's exposed to within the entertainment industry? Unfortunately, there are people who believe that because you're famous, that they have every right to hurt you or harass you or do whatever they want with you because you're a spectacle. I believe with things like media literacy, that'll help them to better understand that even celebrities are human. In many cases, you can't expect that the act that they show to the public to be the real face. If you are one of those haters who had actively harassed Hana Kimura's family online, I guess all I just want to say is, even though I've already berated you, I don't want to berate you more because I feel like that'll turn you away. I guess all I want to say is, be careful what you post and be careful how you act online in the future. These are real people that you're actively going after, not just some anonymous person behind the screen that can just shove away the comment and then go on like it's no big deal. It's like swinging a sharp sword in a crowded room. You can't expect somebody to not get hurt. And to Hana Kimura's mother and to Hana Kimura's family, I just want to express my condolences for the situation that has happened with Hana Kimura herself and the backlash and hate that you've been getting online. You have every right to feel disheartened and to express your grievances. With this episode having been aired and this anime rising in popularity, we can expect to bring even more awareness to cyberbullying, given their realistic portrayal, and to people who struggle with these situations, even though you may have heard it before. Genuinely, I genuinely mean it. You are not alone. Within your country, there are programs or hotlines or numbers that you can call that can help. These situations of harassment and bullying have been going within a cycle. The whole point of prevention is to ensure that it's mitigated or that it doesn't accumulate. I believe with media literacy, with it being taught to people, especially at a young age, or even now, just having them well informed on the subject and what to look out for can help them to ensure that they make better decisions when navigating or speaking with other people online, and that can even go into how they interact with people in person. In many cases, most people go into a conversation with a stranger expecting themselves to get hurt. And that's something that needs to change, shouldn't it? Now, again, if there's anything that I may have missed or anything that you feel I should have discussed more in detail or should have elaborated more on, please feel free to tell me more about it in the comments. I would love to know more, and I'd love to see if I can express myself fully on this matter. And given what I just talked about, I bet I can expect the same harassers and bulliers to show up in the comments. But if you had watched Oshinoko, if you're one of these people, give it a try and leave a discussion down below. All it takes is the first step. I'll see you next time.